What if the very thing you're desperately holding on to is the exact thing preventing you from flying? There was once a master archer who could hit any target with perfect precision. His reputation spread across kingdoms and people traveled from distant lands just to witness his skill. Yet despite his fame and talent, he carried a burden that grew heavier with each passing day. Sometimes holding on does more damage than letting go. Years ago, during his first competition, he had missed the final shot that would have made him champion. That arrow, his only failure, haunted him. He kept it in a glass case in his room, staring at it every morning, reliving that moment of defeat. One day, a young apprentice approached him. "Master, teach me to never miss like you do." The archer's face darkened. "Never miss? Child, I carry my greatest failure with me every single day. The past is a place of reference, not residence. But I seem to have forgotten that myself." You can't start the next chapter of your life if you keep rereading the last one. That evening, the master sat in his garden, the failed arrow in his hands. His wife found him there and sat beside him quietly. "My love," she said gently, "do you remember what you told me on our wedding day?" He looked at her, puzzled. "You said love isn't about holding on tight, it's about having the courage to let go and trust. You were talking about your fear of losing me, but I think those words apply to more than just love. Letting go doesn't mean giving up. It means accepting that there are things that cannot be changed." The next morning, something extraordinary happened. As the master prepared for his daily practice, he found himself unable to draw his bow. His arm trembled, his breathing became shallow, and for the first time in decades, he couldn't hit even the largest target. What you resist not only persists, but will grow in size. Frustrated and confused, he sought out the village's wise woman. She listened to his story without judgment, nodding slowly. "Master Archer," she said with a knowing smile, "you cannot heal a wound by saying it's not there. But you also cannot heal it by reopening it every day. That arrow you keep, it's not preserving your lesson. It's preserving your pain. The only way to make sense out of change is to plunge into it, move with it, and join the dance. But if I let it go, how will I remember not to make the same mistake?" The wise woman handed him a seed. "When you plant this, do you dig it up every day to check if it's growing?" "No. You water it, give it sunlight, and trust the process. Your scars are proof of your strength, not your weakness. You don't need to keep touching them to remember they exist." Sometimes the hardest part isn't letting go, but rather learning to start over. That night, the master stood on a cliff overlooking the ocean. The failed arrow trembled in his hands as he held it up to the moonlight. For years, he had defined himself by this single moment of imperfection. You are not defined by your past. You are prepared by it. Taking a deep breath, he pulled back his arm and released the arrow into the vast darkness. It disappeared into the night, taking with it years of self-imposed prison. The beautiful journey of today can only begin when we learn to let go of yesterday. The moment the arrow left his fingers, something magical happened. His shoulders relaxed for the first time in years. His breathing deepened. The weight he had carried for so long simply vanished. Rock bottom became the solid foundation on which I rebuilt my life. The next morning, his apprentice found him in the garden, practicing with renewed grace and precision. Every shot was perfect, not because he had erased his past failure, but because he had finally learned from it and moved beyond it. "Master, what changed?" the young student asked in amazement. The archer smiled, his eyes clear and peaceful. "I learned that holding on to anger is like grasping a hot coal with the intent of throwing it at someone else. You are the one who gets burned. Let go of who you think you're supposed to be and embrace who you are. Today, ask yourself, what arrow are you still carrying? What past failure, regret, or pain are you clutching so tightly that it's preventing you from moving forward? That relationship that ended badly? That business that failed? That opportunity you missed? That mistake you made? The truth is, unless you let go, unless you forgive yourself, unless you forgive the situation, unless you realize that the situation is over, you cannot move forward. Your past failures aren't meant to be carried. They're meant to be learned from. Your mistakes aren't meant to define you. They're meant to refine you. Sometimes good things fall apart so better things can fall together. The master archer discovered what you must discover too. True strength isn't about never falling. It's about learning to let go of the fall so you can rise again. What will you release today to make room for tomorrow's miracles?